Planning a fishing trip shouldn't feel like a full-time job. With FishingBooker.com, you can find and book the perfect fishing trip within minutes. FishingBooker.com connects you with trusted fishing captains around the world. Booking is fast, easy, and secure, with access to verified customer reviews, loyalty rewards, and around-the-clock customer support. Everything you need to book with confidence is in one place. So head to FishingBooker.com and start planning your next fishing adventure today. Planning a fishing trip shouldn't feel like a full-time job. With FishingBooker.com, you can find and book the perfect fishing trip within minutes. FishingBooker.com connects you with trusted fishing captains around the world. Booking is fast, easy, and secure, with access to verified customer reviews, loyalty rewards, and around-the-clock customer support. Everything you need to book with confidence is in one place. So head to FishingBooker.com and start planning your next fishing adventure today.
All right, welcome back to the Survival and Basic Badass Podcast, Kevin and Chuck. Today, well, we're going to talk about prepper items that, with inflation, you need to go out and get now. There's a couple things out there that, really could disappear off the shelves. Mm-hmm. And when things get tough, you want to get ahead of things with money and what you're spending. And the thing is with inflation, right? You want to beat it and spend your money now because your money might not be worth as much tomorrow as it is today. And with that in mind, there's certain things we could buy that could really preserve wealth and, help keep things going. And I know it's a topic that we've kind of, touched on before, and there's always like good things that are, worth taking note to prepare. But, we really try and be all about prepping and, being prepared for what's coming. And I got to say, it's kind of important that we, have the supplies on hand. It'll make life a lot easier. And it's definitely a great way to preserve your money as we seem to be losing it faster and faster. I know Janet Yellen has, she's talking a lot lately about how there's a lot of, we're not really heading to a recession, says, but mysteriously, then they keep saying, well, maybe a minor recession. And the thing is, in the past, they never said, oh, there's a recession coming. Because they always try and keep that on the down low because that tends to escalate things.
Right. Speeds it up.
It speeds it up. And so they always try and play like, oh, well, that's not, something you need to worry about. And so when they actually say, well, there might be a little one coming, then that's because they don't want to look like complete idiots who didn't know, that something was about to get, whacked in the head with a 2x4. Mm-hmm. So there are some things out there that, are pretty important that I think you could go out and spend some money. And like I said, a lot of it is more preserving wealth, but with useful items that you're going to use. So I like to think like the consumable items, the things that you're going to keep using and are going to disappear. And one of the big things that comes to mind with me is lumber, like 2x4s and that I have a pretty good stockpile. The house that I have, this isn't my exact stockpile, but you get the idea. The idea is I have a bunch of like dog kennels in the back, and I don't have a bunch of dogs. I have 2 dogs, but I put like lumber in one. I have my rabbits in another one. I have, shingles and roofing stuff. I have another one filled with all fencing materials, and it kind of looks like a lumber yard, but because it's protected by a roof and whatever, it does a reasonable job of preserving it. And that's something, when 2x4s are what, $3.40 each or $2.40 each.
Yeah, it's a lot more than that up here.
No. Oh yeah. Wait, maybe where you are. I think it's $3.43 or something where I am.
Yeah, and, I'm looking around $5 for a for 8-foot 2x4.
Yeah. So I don't know, better me than you. And you know what, actually, I noticed when I moved down south is our 2x4s actually are straight in the store.
What?
It's not like a boat building section when I know when I was in New York. And so what I think is when they pick out the stuff for here, they just pull all the good shit. And then they're like, all right, all this crap's left over. Let's send it up north. Because I guess all the wood, comes from our pine trees down here in the south. But so what else, Kevin? I know, like one of the things I'm big on is like chainsaw chains and, garden tools like that, mower blades, mower belts. I almost always have on hand, some of that extra stuff. And that, that's kind of huge. That because it sucks when, you got a big, huge yard or even a small yard and you're cutting it and then, the belt broke. Now I got to wait 2 weeks to get a belt. That's kind of a problem.
Right. No, there's a lot of stuff like that you want to have a backup for just so you don't have to run to the store and stop your project midway. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of those things are also climbing in price every single day. Having those extra lawnmower blades and those chainsaw blades on hand is a big help. The lumber, there's a lot of things like that is important. Would not be a bad idea to have oil stocked up for your vehicles, just to change oil. Those things are going up now. I saw egg prices are finally starting to drop, and I looked into it, and apparently it's because so many people started raising their own chickens. It's one of the reasons. You know what I mean? A lot of people are out of the market. They're not buying eggs anymore because they've got their own. Which I think that's a positive sign. That's great. More people doing their own stuff for themselves is, that's a plus in my book.
Right. No, exactly. I know I looked at, somebody mentioned in the comments here about, getting a sawmill and it's time for that. Yeah, there's that Woodland Mills had one. It's like $3,500 for a pretty big one. I just tried to pull it up now to kind of get a price on there for you. And I only saw a portable one, which kind of came with wheels and a trailer. I don't know. Wasn't the one that I was looking at before, but they have pretty cool, sawmills. You can get into that cheap if you got big property. Obviously that's only an issue if you got substantial trees on your property.
Yeah, if you have lumber to mill, right.
But something like that and, extra saw blades or whatever is somewhere you can park your money that's going to be a valuable, real thing. Now, obviously, these things are coming after you have your food supplies squared away.
Mm-hmm.
And, the basics that, you need, but then you want to think, hey, can I get outside? But the
everything that we're talking about is after your food and water is set. Those are obviously the most important things.
Those are the essential
to take care of.
And that's one of the things I think about is I look at people don't have water set aside. And I have in my barn, I guess I have about 15 gallons of water that I just keep there because it sucks when you run out of water. And if you're like, hey, I don't need my toilet or whatever, I grab some of these gallons of water, it's no problem, and because of where I store them, it's not a big deal. If it doesn't really freeze, it's a pretty well insulated room, but where I am, it's not really a thing. But that's definitely something you need to do is water and food. And it doesn't have to be the fancy long-term, food storage from like My Patriot Supply or one of these guys, but it needs to be food that's going to last, maybe a year, something with a decent shelf life.
Right.
I don't know. What are you thinking?
Well, a lot of the things that people store, you want it long-term storage just because, you know what I mean? Well, it's sitting on your shelf even before anything happens, You don't want to, all of a sudden the grocery stores are closed and you open up and everything's expired. You know what I mean? You open up your cabinet. A lot of that stuff, it'll go bad after 6 months or so.
Right.
And that's fine if you're rotating your stocks, but
Right.
I see a lot of people recommend storing bleach.
Okay.
And that's a great idea. Bleach is useful for a lot of things, but the truth is you got a good 6 months before it really starts to go bad. So with bleach, is one of the things that we talk about right now. For long-term storage, you want to make sure that you're keeping it in a cold, dark place.
Right. And you should
Don't
be
have
able to
it
get years out of your bleach if it's
right.
in a cold, dark place. But,
right. UV light, even in the plastic containers, that UV light will go right through it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it'll eat it up. So, it's definitely something you want to keep, in your basement or something like that,
Right.
Keeping it out of the sun and keeping it from getting warm.
Right. Yeah. No, you can buy a lot of the pool places have like the tablets for the bleach and the more hardcore.
Those are more expensive, but they last a lot longer.
Right. If you're, looking at going that way. I also used to treat the water in my house, and I would go buy the pool supply stuff and buy the big, 5 gallon. Is that what it is? 5 gallons? Yeah. I don't know. The big containers they have, and they were like $13 or whatever. And I was actually working through them. But again, you have concentrated and, it's on hand, which is nice.
Right, right. So that stuff you buy from the pool place is 12.5%.
Okay.
And the bleach you get from your grocery store is about 6%. So
so
you're getting
a
double.
But it's not, it's not crazy.
It's more powerful for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, regular bleach is pretty damn powerful. You can empty a bottle of bleach out and fill it with water and dump that out, and that's going to be clean water. You know what I mean? That's you can do that 5 or 6 times with how powerful the bleach is as far as antibacterial properties and things like that. It's great.
Right.
It's a really useful thing to have around.
Exactly. Now,
another thing I like to stock up on is duct tape.
Duct tape and whiskey?
There's never enough duct tape. Yeah, there you go. There's never enough duct tape in the world, If you can't fix it with duct tape and WD-40, it's not worth having.
Yeah. One of the comments here, Uncle Whiskey there was about, the Harvest Right freeze dryers, right? They're freaking awesome, but they're expensive as hell. And he's like, oh, moose, salmon, all that stuff up north that you're grabbing, to be able to preserve it. It's funny. I was just looking online at like salt curing meat, which it turns out there's nothing to that. It's not hard at all. And I kind of in my mind was like, well, there's something more to it that I'm missing.
Right.
And it turns out there's not. I'll do a short video and throw it up for you guys on how to do it. But anyway, the salt curing meat, I was looking at that Azure Standard has, they're like a kind of like a Sam's Club, but there's no membership. It's pretty awesome. I mean, you become a member, but it's free. So that's why I say no membership, no fee, right? So you become a member and they basically truck the stuff to like a drop point. So basically, if you order a lot of stuff, or maybe you're in a church group or something, and you're like, hey, I'd like to be the drop point, drop it at my house, and everybody can come pick up their stuff. And I was like, oh, there's not going to be one near me. And sure enough, like 30 minutes away, I can go to some lady's house and they'll drop off, with the truck. And they're like, yeah, shipping for your 50-pound bucket of salt will be, $4.95. And I'm like, all right, I like that, and that's, but ways to buy in bulk like that, are really a great place to start if you're building up your food storage. Now, mind you, I was talking to another girl. My wife was like, oh, this other farm, they use it. And the lady was like, yeah, well, I kind of forgot how bulk everything is. And she's like, we ordered raisins, and now like I have like a 5-gallon bucket of raisins, and I'm never gonna, never gonna use that. So, it depends. It's better if you have somebody you can kind of work with or whatever, or you have certain items that you're really looking at doing bulk. I hear actually, how we've heard rumors in the day, they're like, oh, the government's going to try and outlaw beef, California with production and things like that. And they come up with all these weird things. The last one I heard for the environment now is they want to ban rice. because growing rice could be bad for the planet.
Yeah,
I think what they mean is people living is bad for the planet.
And, that's really the truth, the fact, right? Got to get rid of some of these people. There's just too many of them.
Yeah. So we hit chainsaw chains and mower belts and, mower blades and all this stuff. But there's a lot of other garden tools that are like super useful, but also like I know doing more of the like farm life, they become consumables. Right. So like we do the digging forks and things like that. And I get maybe 2 seasons. Now, my wife says it could be because I'm a jackass and I get too aggressive and, force things that I shouldn't. But, whatever. But what my point is the ones that you're replacing and using a lot.
Right.
You should be, working with.
Right. And have enough extra. That, and don't invite Chuck over to your house to abuse your tools,
And the thing is, like, compared to my kids, I'm a rock star at like preserving tool life.
Right. Well, I mean that the main trick to preserving your tools is to not leave them out in the rain.
Yes.
That's the main trick to preserving your tools is to put them away when you're done with them.
Oh, and letting the sun and the rain rot the wood on the handles, and all of a sudden, I have like I think a gravel rake where the handle is like a 30-degree angle, bowed in the middle. And I'm like, I don't even know what happened here. Slow Burn pointed out that really all your tools, you should be sharpening yourself. And dude, I've tried to master this whole chainsaw chain sharpening. That's the only one that's kicked my ass.
Yeah. I'm the same way with that.
Things, but the chains, I had a guy in New York who like $8 a chain. And what I did, I actually bought like 13 chains over time because I just kept buying new ones. But now I have like a big rotation. I can take the bag to the guy and I'm like, yeah, just sharpen all these. I'll be back in a week, and and better than $30 a chain, getting them sharpened for $8. But now I found a place that I haven't found a good guy to sharpen them where I am locally. So, but I found on Amazon, I can get like 3 of the chains I use for like $35 brand new. I'm like,
that's not bad.
That's, I can't. Yeah. So I just started buying those in bulk and I'm going through it. And same thing. I just keep all the old chains because one day I'm going to find the guy who can sharpen them again.
Right.
Yeah, Adams, where you are, does it. And it's pretty great. But,
oh, do they? I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I couldn't, well, the one in Poughkeepsie, but the big power. But anyway, so multi-tools. It turns out for me, multi-tools are a consumable, like leather ones and like that. And they're pretty freaking expensive, $50, $60. But how cool were you if you were buying them when they were $20 and $30?
Right.
And you stockpile them? It's the same idea. It all just keeps going up.
Right. Prices are they go up. They never go down. You know, it goes up with inflation, and then it never backs down. It goes up because the supply chain was messed up and the supply chain gets fixed and prices stay the same.
Up. Yeah. I was happy to see lumber come way back down. I mean, it really is down from where it was. Even if you're telling me it's still pretty high, I know, but $10 a 2x4, that was, those are some times, right?
Right. Another thing that I'd like to have stocked up on is nails and screws. Obviously I go through a lot more screws, but with the power out, running power tools on a generator is a good way to suck up your fuel. Hammering a couple of nails is fairly easy and inexpensive, and same thing. Prices just keep going up. Having a big box of nails and a few big boxes of screws is a great way to go.
So I work in a big factory, you know how it is, and so we throw out all kinds of stuff because that's how we do things. I don't know. So I ended up scoring all these bins with the little cubbies, like kind of like if you think of the old mailroom slot, things. Then you have the 50, when they sorted mail, and they'd have the bunch of. So I have the little metal bins, the gray, maybe made by Vidmar or something like that. Who knows? And I scored a bunch of these. Well, I have like a section that's just filled with like different gun parts, and like I stockpile gun parts because I'm kind of weird. But and then I have another that's just stacks and stacks of screws, nails, staples. And dude, nails are no joke. It's like or screws. If you want decent outdoor screws, you're looking at like $35 for a 5-pound, box. But what I found is if I'm buying like a 1 inch, a 2.5 inch, a 3 inch, or whatever, I have the right size for the right thing, and I'm not wasting. Because how many times have you done a project where you're using 2.5 inch screws, but you really only need one?
Right. You only needed a 1.5 inch. Right.
And you're actually throwing money away there. But that's something you can really get ahead of on inflation, and even better if you can, watch for the time to buy it, Another thing I like to stockpile, and you guys probably never thought of this, is ammo.
Oh, yeah. Nobody ever thought about that.
Priced right now.
Right.
I know that if you checked out ammoseek.com, they were a sponsor of ours for a little while.
Right.
Really great guys I was happy to work with, and somebody I definitely could get behind supporting. Is AmmoSeek just helps you sort out the right place to buy it and find it, and they're great. But yeah, have that one, dude. I was able to sell so much stuff during the pandemic that because they were like, oh, ammo is $1 million now. The government was out to get it. Somehow the government's out to get us right now, but everyone's just like, yeah, whatever. I don't even need to worry about it because they're always out to get us, I got one. I'll remind me at the end, but Pennsylvania has some genius gun laws coming out. So
all right, I'm excited.
We're gonna get into that because they kill me. Another thing that's awesome is batteries. Yeah, batteries are huge. Now here's the thing though. So you know me, I've been in the prepping world here for a long time now, and so my bug out bag, my bug out bag is kind of, I don't really plan to bug out, right? So it's more of a stay at home bag, but it's kind of more a sea bag filled with all my supplies of, stuff that I need to be able to find when it's time, or if I'm taking the truck and I'm like, all right, I'm going out in the woods, whatever. So it's like that. But what I did is I would buy like the 48 thing of batteries and I would throw one in there, and then I would have one that I'm using and I'd rotate through them. And Duracell has the big, 10 years. You're great for 10 years. Don't sweat it.
Yeah.
And dude, I pulled a bunch out the other day, and dude, it's like 4 years old. This 48, and like 3/4 of them didn't even work at all. And some of them were like had cake coming out of them. Yeah. And I'm like, what a piece of crap. And of course, they're guaranteed, right? So maybe I could call somebody and work something out. But you think I did that?
You could spend 3 hours figuring out how to do that and maybe get your $15 back.
So So my point is, just be aware of, it's maybe not as great as it could be, and just make sure you're rotating through. And,
and there is really different
on top of your storage.
Yeah, there's different grades of batteries too. I mean, generally speaking, the more expensive, the more money you're spending, the better quality you're going to get. But if you're going to buy a bunch of bulk batteries, I would do a little research first. I think Energizer is the longest lasting. Duracell, I think the best bang for your buck that I've found is
Duracell were great. And then I mean, I always was buying Energizer, and then Sam's Club switched to Duracell, and I was disappointed. But I was like, all right, I'll stick to it.
But I mean, it's the same thing with Energizer. They'll say 10 years, but who knows what it's going to be? 9 years in, what are you looking at, really? And I think the best bang for your buck I found is like the Amazon brand thing of batteries. So if you have an Amazon account and you want to order a bunch of bulk batteries, that's the best bang for your buck. They're not going to last as long as the Duracells and the Energizer, but you know what I mean? It's money is always a factor.
Exactly. Well, that's the thing. I'm seeing here in the comments, a lot of people are switching to to archery and bows and arrows, a lot more consumable, renewable, we'll say. They're probably worried about the planet, is my guess. But I'm just messing with you. The idea with archery, though, is, I mean, the arrows do last. And somebody's talking about making your own bow, and I gotta say, I did that with one of my kids. He was like really in archery, and it's funny because I bought him like a reasonably fancy bow, by kids' standards. It was a fancy
compound bow,
and he's like using one that he made with a stick, and he's like, but it's mine, and I made it, and it's mine, and I love that. That's how it should be, is that real connection. But so we ended up going on there was one of those websites where you could, like, they showed you how to make everything yourself. I don't remember what it was called, but and they had that kind of how-to on making your own bow and like piecing the wood together and building it out in stages.
Composite.
And it just, so we ended up making him, a custom bow and doing that. And I gotta say, it's pretty freaking awesome. And spending your time with your kids and your family and doing that. So learning how to make your own bow and make your own arrows and do that stuff, that's pretty cool. And like I said, it's a great, hobby and things that you can do with your family to kind of connect and stay together. So nothing wrong with that. That's definitely a great way to be. And bows are awesome. And you can really, we've all seen Rambo, right?
Right.
I mean,
you just got to put those exploding tips on there. You shoot a truck and the whole
silent,
thing
right? You're silent. And silent but deadly, right?
There you go. Yeah, no, that's great. One of the other things I looked at is just general hygiene products. That's really something that you can stock up on: toothbrushes, toothpaste, baby wipes. Those baby wipes, you have to be conscientious. You open that package and then leave it for a month, and it's going to be all dried out. You want to make sure you have something with those baby wipes, keep some moisture. The toilet paper mountain, big deal. You got to keep that butthole clean.
Yeah.
You know, that's basic standards. If you ever want to get head from a girl, got to have a clean butthole. Key. You'll never get a second chance at that.
No.
Don't just wipe your butt and smear it on the back of your ball sack and expect somebody to be enthusiastic about it.
And we watch the listener number just drop down to nothing.
All the women are cheering though, because they all agree with me. They know what I'm talking about. How about soap is another one. When we're talking about hygiene, just bars of soap, it's very inexpensive, and they can sit in a cabinet forever. Making your own soap, that's a lot cheaper. And it's a fairly easy process if you want to get into it, but it does involve a few items to have from the store, some big pots and trays and things like that. So something to keep in mind, but it's definitely something that I stock up on it. Personally, I think it's worthwhile having, 10 tubes of toothpaste and a couple of big boxes of Bard soap.
Yeah. Now, so a lot of people are another thing with the archery too. Sorry, not to jump around here a little bit, but with the archery, you get an extra 10 or sometimes even as much as a month extra in your hunting season. So that's something to keep in mind. I don't know, just saying, there's a lot of bonuses to archery.
Yeah, there is.
And, it is like another skill to develop and like that. I know some places, New York sucked, where you had to take a separate 8-hour class to do archery hunting versus, rifle hunting. So you had to do the rifle hunting and the archery class.
Mm-hmm.
Where I am in the South, they just have one hunting license and it kind of covers it all.
And you just shoot everything you see.
And you just shoot everything you see. It doesn't matter. New York, we had hunting, rifle, trapping, and archery. Whereas here you could just get away with one hunting license. Yeah. You just, you can hunt now. So you got it covered.
Right.
So you were saying all the soap, Toothpaste, I definitely have a reasonable amount. Hopefully, toothpaste doesn't get away from us in the budget.
Right.
Another thing is medication, antibiotics, things
Hmm.
like that. Even like triple antibiotic. That's something you could really, these are all things that are really gonna, preserve your wealth. Though they're
Hmm.
you're gonna buy now, and there's no chance of you not using it. It's
Right.
not like, oh, you're gonna stop using toilet paper. You know, now I'm not talking about you maybe don't need the toilet paper to the ceiling. I'm
Hmm.
not saying really go to, beyond. And
Right.
also, they are potential for rodents and things like that to get into your supplies. So it's
Hmm.
something you want to be aware of. But, you know, it, you know, that's all I can
Yeah.
say.
You know. Yeah. No. One of the other ones that I want to talk about real quick is candles. I think a lot of
Nice.
people underestimate candles as far as a lighting source go. Oh, I've got my generator. I've got this. I've got that. I don't have to worry about the candles. It's a great thing to have stocked up. Just like flashlights. A candle doesn't make a bunch of noise. With the generator, like the generator does, and even a candle is even enough that you can warm your hands up on a cold
Right.
night. It's not going to keep you from freezing to death, but there's a little bit of warmth factor there too. Usually
Right.
with power outages and stuff, I usually set those candles up by mirrors and kind of double that light up a little bit. But having a drawer full of candles isn't a bad idea.
Right. Another big prepper tip that I keep seeing, like the flashlight and lighting.
Mm-hmm.
That stuff's huge, and that kind of goes hand in hand with the batteries. I always really liked Enloop. It's Eneloop, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're made by Panasonic, but they do rechargeable batteries that seem to have like 2,000
Mm-hmm.
2,000 hours, and they see, or sorry, 2,000 recharge
Right.
cycles.
Recharges. Yeah.
And so that's kind of awesome. And I've had great success with those. But flashlights, that kind of thing, that's a great place to spend some money. But it's funny because I had bought a lot of mag lights and stuff, and now they seem so outdated compared to the stuff that you get now.
The new LED
Yeah,
flashlights.
there's
Yeah.
just different things that, time is always
Yeah, but
changing.
those little LED flashlights, you can't really bash somebody's head in with
No,
one
no,
of
you
those,
don't have the staying power,
Right.
Yeah, so there's that. Another thing is fire starting equipment. And again, this is not going to preserve your wealth, but just having a bunch of wooden matches and lighters, having lighters
Yeah.
set aside everywhere is another awesome, thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing people don't think about is seeds.
Right.
Seeds are more expensive than you think.
Mm-hmm.
But having a decent supply of, seeds on hand for the next year. But again, that's something at best you're probably going to get 5 years of a decent shelf life. And that's
That's
if they're
true.
like vacuum packed and,
Yeah.
ready to go.
That's true. I had some issues this year with some of my seeds that were a little bit old, and I planted them and nothing came up,
Yeah.
And nothing worse than planting bad seeds, going through the effort and doing it, and then having to go out and get more seeds and start over again 2 weeks too late,
Right. And, back to the tools is, so grease, Kevin mentioned oil, that kind of stuff. But a big
Yes.
thing is you need to take care of the stuff you have.
Right.
We were saying, sharpen your stuff, take care of your tools, kind of oil them up when you're preserving them. When you're setting them aside for a while, it's just like a gun. You put a little extra oil on it when you're planning on not using it for a while.
Right.
And same thing with your tools. A little oil will keep that moisture and stuff from getting corroded. Greasing, I was just crying about my tractors, like, oh, you should grease all the fittings every 10 hours. And I'm like, oh, that's a lot. That's excessive. And then my freaking tiller kind of had issues. One of the pins had backed out. And it's crooked, and I had to pull the PTO off where I couldn't really move it. That's where it connects, like the spinning.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, this thing's kind of seized on there. I haven't greased it in a little bit. And I mean, I say a little bit, but it was probably like 15 hours,
Right.
but I'm not taking the tiller on and off much, in the beginning of the harvest season.
Right.
It just kind of stays there and like it kind of locks up and that grease disappears. So I'm just saying, take care of your stuff, put a little effort in, keeping it taken care of. Because
now another thing I want to
spend money and then let it sit and
right, and then let it go bad.
But go ahead. Yeah.
One of the things I wanted to touch on is oil lamps. They're great. Because you can use multiple different types of oil in there and burn it. The only thing that you run out of is wicks, and so you have to keep that. Keep some of those things. But that goes for a lot of stuff. If you've got 25-gallon cans of propane. And the only thing that you can heat with propane tank is your grill, then you're kind of wasting your time,
Yeah.
Get the accessories and the right equipment for the equipment that you have, the battery packs that match the tools you have, the propane accessories for the propane tanks that you're storing. You've got a little camp stove. How many of those little propane tanks do you have that hook up to it?
Right.
What can you hook those propane tanks up to that aren't, that are, another option? There's heaters and all sorts of stuff you can get with that sort of stuff. And, kind of pick your lane and try and stay in it with your money. So you're not wasting it. There's a lot of ways to spend money and get rid of it.
Yeah.
You can get rid of money as fast as you can make it, but there's no reason to waste it on something you're not going to use.
That's the thing. I mean, we have water filters and all this stuff, people, all this prepper stuff. Oh, I got, survival blankets and I got, the sleeping bags and the whatever, but none of that stuff is going to matter if you don't have food at home. You don't have the basics. Get the basics covered and, get your family on board and, get things squared away where everybody's like, hey, we got the core covered. And then I'm not saying you don't need a good get home bag in your car, right? That's great. But people will spend thousands of dollars on prepper gadgets. Whereas it's like, you know what, learn some skills,
right.
Watch some YouTube and actually go out and do stuff. Have some equipment that works, I know some of you states that they don't allow guns and stuff. I know, I think Pennsylvania and a few others are like, oh, we don't want to have guns in cars and like stupid things. Like, it's not worked out yet. But
how am I going to shoot people when I get in my road rage?
Right,
fits?
Exactly.
This is ridiculous.
But that's the thing. So Dukes of Hazzard, they always had the bow in the car.
That's right. That's right.
Because they were like felons. Remember, they were on probation from
Bo and Luke,
from running moonshine. Right. So now that's definitely something to think about with the bow. Sorry, I know I'm kind of jumping around here. I just can't help it.
You were talking about you were talking about some gun laws in Pennsylvania.
All right.
Is that
Let me tell you what I saw here. Well, So actually that was one of the things that there's a new House bill for Pennsylvania. And again, it hasn't passed. All right. So this is just proposed.
Right.
But it's just one of those things. Once they start proposing stupid ass shit, then everyone's like, yeah, that's a great idea. We should all do that. Right. So it might come slow. But so this is would go into effect January 1, 2024, if it passed. And what they want is all ammunition sold in Pennsylvania must have a serial number, on the brass and on the bullet in a place that is unlikely to be damaged on impact.
What? I don't even know what that means.
So they want a serial number basically on the box, the bullet, and the casing. Now, I guess like a box of 50, all 50 could have the same serial number, but it would be tied to the box.
Okay.
So
they could find the shell and go to your house and match it up to the box that you've got. And
match it up, right? Exactly. Or, this was sold at gun store so-and-so. Now, even better, this is the part that I really love. Like, one, that's damn near impossible, right? When you think of the manufacturing issues.
Right.
But then you, as the private citizen, are required to dispose of all your non-serialized ammo by January 1st.
The fuck does that even mean? I got to use up all my shit?
Yeah. Dude,
or throw it in the garbage?
Yeah. Yeah. That's...
I don't know if I hate enough people to be able to use up all my ammo.
How are you? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not in Pennsylvania, but I mean, that sort of stuff, that sort of stuff leaks into other states when it starts, when they start passing dumb laws like that, How many stupid laws did they pass in California that ended up being enacted in a bunch of other states afterwards?
I know New York's always down to jump on whatever California's doing. They're
right. Like, they're always on board.
Brilliant. California's cutting edge. If we were cool like them, I don't know. That's something. But there's so much of that stupid shit going on. And I know California, they were always trying to do that micro stamping. Remember, they were going to do the serial numbers on they wanted some way. I think California's big plan was they wanted the gun to stamp a serial number when you shot it.
Okay, that makes sense.
It was gonna, so it would like, oh, that was that gun. But I don't know, when they do the ballistics checks, they seem to be able to match the gun to the barrel. I don't know.
That's just on TV. It's not real life, dude.
Well, that's, we don't have things like facts and evidence. And no. They always say like the NCIS stuff. They're like, that all can be done.
Yeah, it just isn't.
Never done.
Yeah, why is it? Yeah, why are we still at like 50% range of solving murders? You know what I mean? Like, you can't do better than that. You can't do like, because 9 times out of 10, it's the husband or the wife that did it. I don't understand. I don't understand all these murders just going unsolved. Can't figure it out.
Exactly.
Whatever.
Nah, it's crazy. But the idea is find a way to preserve your wealth, though. Find a way to preserve your stores, to have the things that you need. We gave you a good list here of things that, you could be stockpiling that are more the consumable items, things that you can, preserve and know that you're going to use. And, even like, hey, I'm going to replace my roof in the next year or two. Buy the shingles if you think that they're at a reasonable price, whatever. Things like that. That's where you want to get ahead. But, you guys, it's all about, preserving your stuff and having the supplies you need, but be thoughtful with where you spend your money.
Right.
And that's where it all falls apart is, have a plan that, hey, I'm actually going to use this. Don't buy all the long-term stuff that nobody's going to eat or, it would be like buying, ammo in a caliber that you don't use, just think ahead. Also,
and be careful with your storage be careful with your storage that you're not ruining all the stuff that you bought too. If your basement floods sometimes, don't store your toilet paper down there.
No, that's not the way to do it.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, it'd be great if you guys could like and subscribe. That always pays off for us. It helps the algorithm, helps people find us. The more people that are watching, the more better content we can put out, the more time we can devote to it and, come up with better quality for you guys. We are doing some new stuff here that's going to help us step up our game. I think I got a lot of new videos coming out that are going to be kind of, put together and images and different things and kind of, I ordered a tripod. So things are really going to, we're upping the quality to whole new levels. So be excited about that. If you guys haven't checked out our YouTube channel, and it's just search Prepping Badass on YouTube and definitely give it a subscribe because that's huge for us. But also, like I said, I got a lot of new stuff coming out in the next 2 or 3 weeks. So, be on the lookout for that. It's going to be good. And people are like, oh, you don't even have any ads. I know. That's because I don't have enough subscribers yet for YouTube to even, give us attention. YouTube's like, yeah, you guys are just amateurs. It's funny because we're actually pretty cutting edge with our downloads of the podcast. We're like considered, I guess, by downloads, we're in like the top 1% of all podcasts, which that's pretty freaking amazing.
Is that true?
There
are a lot of shitty podcasts out there.
There's a lot of shitty podcasts. So yeah, if you're, we're the king of the,
of the terrible
when it
podcasts.
comes to YouTube, I feel like we put out some quality here and we entertain you guys. But yeah, we're just getting into it. We never really put real effort into the YouTube channel. And I'd say it's been about 3-4 months now that we've been really trying to do consistent quality effort out here for you guys. So we appreciate you sticking around and watching it. But anyway, if you could subscribe to the YouTube channel, that would be awesome. If you guys leave comments, things like that, give us a rating on wherever you're downloading the podcast. And hey, share it on Facebook. Tell your friends. We really appreciate it. And it just helps grow. And remember, the more people that are prepared out there, the less people are coming to take your stuff.
That's right.
That's really what it comes down to. So questions, concerns, email us at preppingbadass@gmail.com. Otherwise, I would say stay safe, and we will talk to you guys next week.
Planning a fishing trip shouldn't feel like a full-time job. With FishingBooker.com, you can find and book the perfect fishing trip within minutes. FishingBooker.com connects you with trusted fishing captains around the world. Booking is fast, easy, and secure, with access to verified customer reviews, loyalty rewards, and around-the-clock customer support. Everything you need to book with confidence is in one place. So head to FishingBooker.com and start planning your next fishing adventure today. Planning a fishing trip shouldn't feel like a full-time job. With FishingBooker.com, you can find and book the perfect fishing trip within minutes. FishingBooker.com connects you with trusted fishing captains around the world. Booking is fast, easy, and secure, with access to verified customer reviews, loyalty rewards, and around-the-clock customer support. Everything you need to book with confidence is in one place. So head to FishingBooker.com and start planning your next fishing adventure today.
This episode is brought to you by Boat Trader, America's largest boating marketplace. Whether you're buying, selling, or upgrading, the Boat Trader app makes it easy. With the biggest selection of new and used boats from dealers and private sellers. Browse, compare, and even apply for financing. All in one place. Download the Boat Trader app and start your search today.